So I've recently had a birthday and my son, my oldest, bought me this beautiful Dragon Trinket mould. So I'm going to use some silver from Let's Resin. Let's go play. Hello everyone and welcome to NerdGoblinart. I'm Lula. Okay, so I had this lovely mould and I've got my resin ready. I'm using Apex. It's a 1-to-1 resin and I'm using Let's Resin metallic silver powder. And I also have in the description box a 15% off discount code for Apex resin for by using NERDGOBLIN 15. But don't worry, it is listed in the description box below. Okay, so the mould I first saw Tracy on Mini Scenes GB using, and recently as well Sally from All Aboard Resin also used it. It's from AliExpress, I believe. I will find the link and pop it in the description box below. So I'm mixing in the powder. I'm not entirely sure at this point how much resin this mould was going to take. I've made up 8 fluid ounces and I split the resin into 2 cups. I do that because I don't want to chance my resin from flash curing. And as well, because I don't actually know how much resin it's gonna take, I want to split it because I don't want to go filling up a whole 8 fluid ounces with the silver in case I'm gonna have some resin left over. It's that simple. So because I'm not burnishing in any colours into this mould, I'm just giving it a pre-spray with some isopropyl alcohol. And we're going to pour this in. I've been as gentle as possible with stirring, and we'll give it a little bit of a jiggle and a little bit of a tap just to encourage any bubbles that want to cling to the inside. If you saw at the beginning when I showed you, it's like Celtic knots around the bottom of the trinket box, and that's probably where you would get any bubbles wanting to hang around. These molds are always deceptive, and I thought I thought that I'd left enough room for me to be able to get my silicone tool around without making too much of a mess, but I needed to put a little less in, and I'm trying to be really careful here because I don't want the resin going up over the sides, because that would be a waste of resin. So I just had to be really careful. But as I say, in the Celtic knot, in those details, that's where any bubbles would want to stay. I'm not overly concerned about bubbles either, because of the nature of what I want to do with this make, what I'm going to be doing with it. It's not just going to be, you know, pouring it and unmolding and that's it. I want to create an effect with this particular make, and I'm just using my heat gun. I don't necessarily, I say I don't mind the micro bubbles because I don't, but what I don't want is big holy kind of bubbles, especially around the bottom of the trinket jar. So as they always are, these kind of molds are always very deceptive, and it does literally take the full 8 fluid ounces, and that's crazy. But there you go. So that is as full as it can be, and I'm still giving it a little wobble like that. And you know, you can keep your eye on it. And I do spray it with some isopropyl alcohol and this stuff. This Let's Resin metallic powder. I don't think the camera picks up on it at all, but when I spray it with isopropyl alcohol, it's almost as if there's little flashy flashy fireworks going on, and they're coming up as the bubbles are coming up. It's, you know, distorting the silver metallic, and it's like boo boo boo, and it's really cool. So if you happen to use this metallic silver with any mix at all, try it, have a look. It's quite interesting. It's fun as well. So of course, because I need to add more, I'm having to use more of the metallic powder. It's, you know, the lovely Pamela gifted me the metallic powders from Let's Resin from one of my happy mails, which I appreciate. I've been having so much fun using. I really have. I've had so much fun using these colours. But they're not going to last forever. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, just use it. You know, it's no good just, you know, hoarding it away in a pot. You know, use it for what you need. But now I know how much I love them. When I do run out, I will certainly be replacing them. So once again, I sprayed the mould with some isopropyl alcohol. Now the detail in this dragon is pretty good. I know because I seen it being made by both Tracy and by Sally. So I decided straight away when I got the mould that I would put so much in, and I'd make sure to get my silicone tool and make sure that I'm trying to get into all the detail of this dragon. He has, you know, he has a face, he has horns on his head, you know, and the tail, and it really is a lovely mould. And once again, as I've said many times, I am not that bothered by the micro bubbles. But at the same time, I don't want huge holes, and I don't really want missing parts of spikes or toes and stuff like that. I do kind of want them a bit more intact, and I really don't want to have to do a really big clean up and fixing job once I've demolded. I think the biggest problem areas will be potentially the wings. I only say that because I did notice on the other people's demolding of these, that's where they seem to be. So absolutely using that silicone tool, and as you can see there, I'm giving it a good squeeze and a good tap. Yeah, I'm treating it much like I do my alligator mold, you know, and opening up as much as possible without being too rough, because you don't want to rip it. It takes a lot, I think, to rip them, but you've still got to be very wary of it. So, as I said, this mold, well, it's not too bad. I would say, because it's a trinket box. So the base and the lid has a lot of detail in it, you know, the full 8 fluid ounces. No, I tell a lie. Oh my goodness, it's because I've been doing so many different projects. It doesn't take, it takes probably around 7.5, because I have a little bit left over, because we do a little extra with this make today. And you can see on the left the base. Can you see how the colours have kind of settled? It almost looks like concrete. I just find these powders really interesting and fun to work with. So this will be filled up, and I'll make sure I use my silicone tool around the edge of the rim of the lid, because it does sit in that box. The lid is a funny shape. It's like, it feels like it's missing an extra, where my hand is resting now. It does feel like it should have had an extra bit of support by there. I'm working on a leveling table, and it is level. It's centered in the middle, and I also checked with a separate spirit level. It's definitely level. So if you do get this mold, be wary of the lid, because the resin definitely started going, see, it's like that. And that's why I think that this really could have done with an extra bit of support by there. But the jar was perfectly adequate for propping it. So I leave this to cure, and I do use my heat mat, because we all know by now that I am an incredibly impatient resin artist, and I did do a little extra with this cute little tortoise, and he's a silver one, and he's super cute. But it's not about the tortoise, it's about this dragon. So it is a tiny little bit soft still, but I'm impatient and I'm opening it anyway. Now, it is a matte mold. Obviously, if you want a shiny one, you can do things to sort that out. You can, like, UV resin it, you can varnish it or whatnot, but we're not worried because of what I'm going to be doing with it. So there's a tiny little bit of trimming to do on the lid, but that often is the case, especially with me. And just being careful and wary. It is a soft mold, which is good, but you got to be aware of all those details, and you'll see that now when I take it out. It's such a lovely mold. And there we go. Now, I was just checking to make sure there was no little bits left in there. It came out quite cleanly. And look at him. Look at his little dragon face. Now, I wasn't entirely sure if the end of that part of the wing was missing, but I think it was just a small bubble on the end. There wasn't a great deal missing, and I decided just to leave it. He's got a lovely face. Look at the detail though. It's so lovely. And there it is on the base. The base is really lovely. I really like the detail of the Celtic knots, because of course, surprise, I'm Welsh. I am from Wales, and it's a Celtic thing, and it really is lovely. So these products are from Dirty Down, and I'm going to be using all of these plus these to create an effect on this trinket box. So I'm going to leave it for a couple of hours just, you know, to settle. And in fact, I did leave it until the following day before doing this. So this is rust, and it's, as I said, it's from Dirty Down. These products, we have them in the house because Mr. Goblin does the Warhammer 40k stuff. And he actually bought all these a little while ago, and they're brand new. They've not been used yet. And he said that I could crack on and use them, and that's very cool and very awesome of him, I should say. So it is exactly what it says on the jar. It is rust. Now, I want this trinket jar, I want it to look like it is old. I want it to look like that it's been potentially left in a damp space for the longest time. The way this rust works is, as you saw on the bottle, it says water soluble. So you can put it into the areas that you want. It takes around 1 to 5 minutes to dry. But the idea is you can reactivate it with water. So you put in the amount you want. You can put on as much or as little as you like. Obviously, the more you put on, as it dries, you'll get more of like the clumpy, you know, effect of rust. And rust can look like that. You know, it can look quite, you know, especially built up on metal or whatnot. So you can concentrate it more in certain areas, and you can either use the water to remove it from that, you know, well, obviously you can remove it if you want to, but you can also spread it out at the same time. Now, I'm not going to show you every second of adding the amount. I've just done a quick cut there, because we would be sitting here, the video was going to be far too long. So I've shown you in normal time, and then I've sped up once you've seen and gotten the idea. So I moved on to the base of the box, and as you can see, I'm not being delicate, I'm not being precise at all. I've got an idea in my head of where I want it to rest, and then I can use the my brush with water then to more blend it in. And that's what I'm going to do here now. Just spotting a few areas where I want it a bit more, you know, just want it a little bit more intense. So I've made sure that I've got some nice clean water in there. I'm not using the water from my jug, which I've been cleaning the brushes with. So just dabbing the brush, and can you see there? Because I'm dabbing the brush into the water. Occasionally you might see me go to where I had the rust colour, forgetting that it's not there, it's the water I'm going for. So as I bring you up closer, I'm showing you in normal time, and then I will be speeding it up. So using the water, you can reactivate certain parts of it, so you can have it heavier in a groove, so to speak, but then you can spread it out, blending it into the piece, which gives it more of a natural look as to what rust would do, especially over a long amount of time, especially if it's getting wet or anything like that. So once you've got the idea of what I'm doing, I will speed it up again, just in part, and then I will cut to the next stage. It does take a while because obviously you've got to allow it to dry in between. So this does actually take a good while, and it takes patience. So there we go. I've just cut to me getting further on with the adding the water to the rust colour. There's going to be a few different layers of different colours going on to here, but obviously I can tone it back down again, or I can add more colours to the areas that need it. So that's dry, and I'm really pleased with that. I think it looks really good. So I've changed up my brush. This is a more, originally it was like a small filbert, but it's now a fuzzy bird. It's a very old brush, and I like it very much, and it does work for me. So onto the base. So this is where I can kind of get rid of those, you know, obvious paint lines, paint markings as well, by blending it into the piece. Now the silver, the silver matters. I can blend bits of the silver back in later by using some of the silver metallic from Vallejo. I can't say it. I can't say Vallejo. Vallejo. Sounds like a band. Vallejo? Vallejo, that's it. I think that's how you say it, Vallejo. So I can buff it back up in certain areas later on, so I'm not worried about that at all. But this part is getting rid of the obvious marks that you've placed in. So we've gone from that to that. So, you know, it's good stuff. As I said, I've not actually used this before, and neither had Mr. Goblin, because he had bought it brand new. But in the world of Warhammer miniature painting and stuff, there's a lot of great videos on YouTube where you can learn how to use these kind of products. And Duncan Rhodes, I think, is a really good channel to start with for that kind of thing. He's got a few videos using these type of things. So I'm happy with that. So next I'm going to be moving on to more of the greeny type. I can't even say it. Verindithy, but I showed it to you. It's a darker type, greeny type colour. I do know my colours, I promise, but my brain doesn't work this time of the night. It's been a long day. It's been a long day, and I thoroughly enjoyed creating this piece. So there's the colour that will come out in this next one. Now I won't be covering it like I did with the rest. I'm going to be putting it into more precise type areas rather than all over. And again, with this, just like with the rest, you can put on as much or as little as you want. The rest did really need to be dry between, so it's there's no wet on wet painting here, and you need to be aware that when you come back to it to actually brush off and blend in, you know, you can potentially end up removing some of the rest that you've got there. So just be wary of that, and just be a little bit more careful and mindful, because if you like the particular area, then you end up rubbing off the work that you've done. Is not the best thing, but it's a really nice colour. I believe that you can add other pigments to it, like you can add I think if you can add like a white, and obviously you're gonna get a lighter green tone with it. But I didn't feel the need because I've got the Citadel oxide paint that I'm going to be using as the last like destructive, like to the metal type highlight. If you've seen my Froggy Friday video just recently, you'll see that effect, that paint that I used for effect on there. So yeah, it's enjoyable actually. You know, if you do happen to have the opportunity to have a go at something like this, it really is relaxing, and it's not difficult. You just gotta be careful of the amount you're putting on. You know, you just don't go crazy, and just take your time, especially when it comes to blending with the water. I think really, if you're new to it, I think that this is a great product. These the Dirty Downs are a great product. Of course, you can always just use watered down paints, but I don't think you'll get as an easy ride with creating the effect. So if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I really love bringing out content and creating stuff for you guys to watch, and you know, creativity is my happy space. Thank you to my subscribers, and thank you to my members as well. And talking about members, I have a membership. Ta-da! And it's going well. And as the channel is building and I'm getting more members, you know, I'm able to introduce more things. I'm going to be introducing a members giveaway from this month, being March. There's albums available to members only with the music that I enjoy creating with Suno. And you also get at least one sneak peek a week to a video. And you also get sneak peek pictures and such as that, and you know, it's good fun, and it's only a small amount, and everything that I make goes straight back into the channel, so I'm able to afford, you know, things like resin, and you know, getting things like pigment powders and stuff like that. So thank you. So hit that subscribe button. And you can also knock the bell too, and that bell will notify you when I have new videos out. So there we are. So I've moved on to the base now, and I'm going to give that a few moments. I'm going to try out using a cotton bud, as a few videos that I watched suggested using cotton buds. Yes, it's useful to get into some of the smaller areas, but essentially I didn't really like it. It didn't feel so comfortable. But definitely have their uses. So I have more control with the brush in the sense of creating more of the blending, I felt. And I'm much more used to using a brush anyway. So once again, doing exactly the same, and as I said, being aware that you've got the rust colour there as well, and it's still it can still be water activated, so you can end up taking some of it away, so being wary of that. Once the model is actually finished, I will give it a couple of days to settle, and it will then get a spray with some spray varnish, so that it will be basically locked in place then. think is important with makes like this as well, to make sure you do go like underneath and around the back as well. So I'm really pleased with the progress of this, and making sure, like I said, you do go in all different areas, you know, underneath the chin, around the back, underneath the wings, because it really does matter. Whether you're making this for yourself, for you know, just for a gift, or even if, you know, it's going to go into a shop space or on a website, you know, the attention to detail matters. And me being the way I am, I really like knowing that all areas are covered. Okay, so this is just sorting out and blending in once again. It doesn't take as long on this one because there's not as much that I put on for this actual colour. It's up to you if you're going to be doing all the way around the edging. I think it's important that you do some concentrated areas of the base, the very base of it, and part of the lid. It's really taking shape now for something that's been left for the longest time, and it's really aged. It's almost as if it could have been in a shipwreck or something. That, you know, you get these little ideas and thoughts in your head as you're, you know, painting along. So that's the base, and I'm really pleased with that. So on to the next thing. Is looking really good, and it is important that you do have a good look, and I decided to do the inside as well. Whilst they were settling down, I thought let's do the inside of that as well. So this is moss. It's exactly, once again, exactly what it says on the bottle, and again exactly the same. You can add more or less, as less as you want or as much as you like. I didn't want to put a great amount of this on. This is the moss colour, and again you can lighten it if you wish to, but I'm more than happy just using the colours as they are. The other option I did kind of consider with the moss was actually putting on some actual textured moss, but I didn't. It was a big job as it was, but I think it looks fine as it is at the end, and I'm sure you'll agree when we get to the end, but that is an option as well. So this is more of the pop, and I think it really gives the piece an idea of depth and texture. And once again, I'm making sure that I'm going around the back of the piece as well, just to make sure that it has that really lovely finish, basically. And once again repeating with the base, but again, we're going less. It's just the way I've done it. The process is completely up to you, you know, how much you want on there, and how little. In my mind, where the moss was concerned, because the moss is more or less the final like topping, so to speak, the moss is that's grown in, you don't need as much. So I'm just showing you in real time, blending in the moss colour, and then I will speed it up again, just for all our sanity, because it can take a little while. I think the idea of the moss part is that, you know, it's been exposed to some form of light as well, where the moss has been able to grow. But I think it's a really nice touch, actually, and it kind of helps it pop that little bit more. And because you're not putting on as much and there's more concentrated areas for it, it really helps the piece look so, well, in a funny way, alive. I get what I mean. I'm sure a few of you will understand what I mean as well. Now, I will definitely be casting this mould many other times, and you know, I'm already considering how I can create this mould for looking like it's a real dragon, you know, like a Smaug type thing from Lord of the Rings. So yeah, it's a fun mould, and there's so much that can be done with it. You know, it can look like you can create it to look like it's ancient. You could make it look like it's, you know, treasure, and keeping treasure safe inside. You know, it's just great fun, and so many different things. You know, you get your imagination going for all the stuff you can actually do with a mold like this. And it's not expensive, not too expensive either. Now, I've not seen it anywhere else other than AliExpress, but if you happen to have seen it elsewhere, please do let us know in the comment below, because I know not everybody likes buying from places like AliExpress and Temu and all that. So if you are aware of anywhere else that it can be purchased from, please do let us know in the comments below. Not forgetting as well, because of the layers below, you don't want to be taking off the other 2 layers of colours that you've put in with your water. So every now and again it is picking up a mixture of the rust as well, but I actually really like some of the colour that it creates mixing with the moss as well as the rust colour, you know. But be aware, once again, I know I said it already, but you got it, you know. Look at that. Oh, he's coming along. He's really coming along, isn't he? Really, really lovely. And as I say, make sure that you go into all those little nooks and crannies so it looks good, you know. And I am remembering to go around the edge occasionally as well. And I apologise for that, for sometimes going off screen. You get caught up in the moment and you end up concentrating so much. I have a tendency to hyper focus as well. So it's been a big learning curve, learning to make sure that I'm showing on camera. You can see here how well the colours can blend just by using that little bit of water. So I'm really pleased with that. With the moss, I don't think I need to add any more of the moss colour. His little face is so lovely, and I'm really loving the base of the trinket box as well. So this is oxide. I cannot say the name, but I've shown it to you on the screen. I can't pronounce it. I should get Mr. Goblin to comment with me when I'm doing stuff like this. He knows how to pronounce them all, and I don't. And he laughs at me for the way I do pronounce some of them. Like noonin oil. That's not how you say it, by the way. It's a different kind of oil. But he thinks it's absolutely hysterical. Okay, so this one is my pop of the, you've got to imagine that water has perhaps been sitting in that area for the longest time and is possibly dripping constantly into the spots, and that's the idea of this stuff. And this stuff is fantastic. This is a Citadel paint. It is not the same brand as the Dirty Down. That is a brand of its own. The Citadel paints, they're one of our favourites, both myself and Mr. Goblin, to use. It dries pretty quickly, so you put it in the areas that you want and then you dab it away. You can dab it away with kitchen roll like I'm using here. You can use cotton buds, all of those things. They're gonna work. I was having trouble getting into the areas with some of the areas, so this is where the cotton bud comes in really handy, just for squishing it down and tapping it in. And just doing this, the effect is wonderful. It really is. It's a great little paint, and it's really worth doing, when you're thinking about something that's been sat out for the longest time. It's not hard either if you get it somewhere that you don't necessarily want it. It isn't difficult at all to get it away, to move it away. But again, because the moss and the rust and the other one, that's the name that I cannot pronounce, and I'm not even gonna be trying to embarrass myself by saying it, those layers are under there as well. So if you're going to be trying to pick up this colour, you could end up pulling away some of those. But again, you can always add them, pop them back on, but it does make extra work for yourself, so just be wary of that. And as you can see, I'm just tapping in again with some kitchen roll, so that effect really works. The bottom, the base that this dragon is sitting on as well is also is quite textured. It almost reminds me of in my mind, like barnacles, like from under the sea. But the texture is great. I really am blown away really at the amount of detail in this mould, and I really appreciate Tracy bringing it to our attention, because it is really lovely. I'm so pleased my oldest son bought it for me. I'm spoilt. If you've managed to stick around so far, thank you. I wanted to create a video that actually shows and teaches you and would inspire you. I'm aware that some people only like the short 10-15 minute videos, but honestly, I was trying to cut this one down, and it was just, I would be cutting out so much information, and what would the point be? You know, I'm trying to, you know, show and teach something. So I truly appreciate you if you have managed to stick around and put up with me waffling away. But I really do enjoy teaching you guys and showing you how to do things. And I know other channels may have been doing these kind of things for the longest time, but this is me. This is my process, and I hope you enjoy watching it. We are very nearly at the finishing line now, and I think it's looking wonderful. I really do, and I don't say that in a boasting way, because I've never used these before. I've never done something like this before. I'm just working off experience as an artist myself. You know, my first love is painting, originally on canvases, so it's a new experience for me as well, and I'm forever surprised when I made that. You know, it really is wow. You know, and sometimes I'm like, well, how did I manage to do that? You know, I'm enjoying it, and and it is great fun. It's so very, very relaxing to do. Gives me my sanity. You know, if you have suffered with mental health, or even, you know, you're suffering because you're in pain or something like that, I think art, it really does help your mind. It really does. And, you know, if you're considering it, please do. You know, even if it's just painting and colouring in a colouring book. I love colouring books. You know, do it for your mind, because it really, really has a massive benefit to your mental health. Look at that. I mean, would you have thought that I'd never used this kind of thing before? So I've got one more part to do, and that is just to add in a few bright spots where the silver is concerned. So this is I won't be able to say it now, will I? The Leo, yeah, I did. So this is aluminium, and it's one of the metallics. This stuff is ideal for adding on a highlight. So it's not showing up, but it's the brush. This is going to be dry brushing. You barely tap that brush into the water and then brush off the excess paint. This is what my tile is for. That's why I don't tend to clean it, so I'm getting lots of texture on my tile to brush paint off on, and it builds up. And I do have a habit of brushing off any excess paint onto my hand. It could be my finger, could be my thumb, but that is just for myself, because I know I feel if I've got too much paint on the brush, and that just gives me a bit more control. You know, it's not for everyone, I'm aware, but it's the way I operate. Now, not going crazy with these highlights. This is an opportunity to bring back any areas that you may think that you've gone a bit too overboard on. The colour match is really good actually with the Let's Resin silver powder that was used in the initial pour. It really is a very, very good match. But with the dry brush, you can just pick out where the silver is still peeking out a little bit, so you can highlight those bits. And also being careful around the very lip of the lid, both the lid and the base. You can add a very subtle bit of a highlight to right around the edging, which is, you know, which is another nice little, is a nice addition to the piece. Make sure that you do, you know, hold your models back as well and have a look at them, and remember to breathe. I'm terrible occasionally for holding my breath when I'm doing more of a detailed thing, because this is more of a detail, you know, it is honing in a bit more and being a bit more delicate with where you're placing your brush. Look at that for a highlight. I'm really pleased with that. So breathe, it is so important. A lot of us hold our breath when we're doing when we're down to the finer points of pieces. And, you know, roll your shoulders. You know, release your shoulders, your poor shoulders, release them a little bit, you know, because you will hunch up when you're doing stuff like this. I am a hyper focuser, I've said that before. Wow. Very, very, very pleased with that. I do want a few points under there, because it may have been, yeah, just sticking out, you know, right on the edges. And it pulls that, like the rust effect back just that tiny little bit, because the rust would be more into the recesses than on the edging. So this is this is your opportunity to dial it back just that tiny little bit. Oh, it looks like it's been there for an age, doesn't it? And the same again with this, with the base. But don't go that as crazy with it. I'm making sure that I'm getting around the edges of the rim and just a little bit on the Celtic knots, just in a few key places, because I think it really looks good with just in a few key places, and it brings it back just that tiny little bit. I think it's important as well knowing when to stop and when enough is enough, because you can end up undoing the work that you've already done. So always be aware of that, and that's why I say to hold it back and look at it and investigate what you've done. I do see so many artists, whether it's with resin models, and I'll be sitting there and I'll be shouting at the screen, no, don't do it, you know, know your limit, stop. So always hold it back and look again, and just, you know, just be happy, and don't try push it so much, but you know, there's no need to undo all of that work that you've just done. And I'm done. I'm really so pleased with this make. I hope that you're inspired. I hope that I've given you an idea that, you know, you can do other things with resin. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you for hanging about. Love you, and stay beautifully weird.
In a room full of colors and swirls, Nerd Goblin art draws a magic world, with foxes that prance and badgers that dance, a whirlwind of dreams with a single glance. Gerald the alligator grins so wide, in enchanted waters he loves to hide. Dragons breathe wonder with flames so bright, each creature born from a magic night. Nerd Goblin paints life in every brush, animals frolic in a vibrant rush, from canvases to tales they